Today we need to talk about why Baldur's Gate 3 is not coming to the Switch 2. And no, this isn't just another story about weak hardware or technical limitations. This is a story about business relationships, IP ownerships, and how one of the greatest RPGs ever made is now stuck in a complicated corporate situation. When people first heard that Larian Studios wouldn't be bringing Baldur's Gate 3 to Nintendo's next console, the immediate assumption was that the Switch 2 simply couldn't handle it because Baldur's Gate 3 is massive, it's complex, it's system heavy, and even the Xbox Series S had issues running it at launch. But when you look deeper, it becomes clear that the real reason was far less to do with power and far more to do with Hasbro, the company that owns the Dungeons and Dragons IP. Baldur's Gate is not Larian's franchise, even though they created the definitive modern entry in the series, and that distinction is everything because it means every port, every sequel, and every major decision has to pass through Hasbro first. After Baldur's Gate 3 launched and became an enormous success, winning awards, breaking sales records, and bringing an entirely new generation of players into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, you would think Hasbro and Larian would lock arms and plan a future together. But instead, Larian publicly announced they were done with the franchise. No Baldur's Gate 4, no major DLC expansions, and no future D&D projects, which is an absolutely wild outcome considering the level of success the game achieved. That alone tells you something significant happened behind the scenes because companies do not walk away from a property this valuable unless the partnership itself has become a problem. Porting Baldur's Gate 3 to the Switch 2 would not be a small task. It would require months of optimization, engineering, testing, and long term support, and that is a massive investment for a game that belongs to an IP Larian no longer wants to work with. From their perspective, it makes far more sense to put that time and money into a brand new project that they fully own, where they control the direction, the platforms, the future expansions, and the long term legacy of the game. This isn't Larian giving up, it's Larian protecting themselves creatively and financially. They already delivered a legendary RPG, and now they want to build something that doesn't come with the baggage of corporate licensing. When a developer doesn't own the IP, they don't control the future, and Baldur's Gate 3 is the perfect example of how frustrating that can be. Larian created a masterpiece, yet they cannot freely decide where it goes or what comes next without another company's approval. That kind of limitation can be creatively suffocating, especially for a studio that clearly values independence and artistic freedom. That situation also reflects poorly on Hasbro because they had lightning in a bottle. Baldur's Gate 3 didn't just sell well, it revitalized interest in Dungeons and Dragons across the world. It brought tabletop fans into gaming and gamers into tabletop. It created free marketing for the brand on a scale that most companies could only dream of. Losing the studio responsible for that success is not just unfortunate, it's a strategic failure. Even if Hasbro chooses to continue Baldur's Gate with another developer, it will never feel the same. Larian understood the soul of that game, from its writing and character depth to its mechanical complexity and player freedom. You can replace a studio on paper, but you can't replace the creative chemistry that made Baldur's Gate 3 special. For Switch 2 owners, this is a massive missed opportunity because Baldur's Gate 3 would have been the perfect showcase RPG to prove that Nintendo's next console can handle deep, mature, hardcore gaming experiences, and instead that door is likely closed unless Hasbro commissions a completely different team to attempt a port or re-release, which is unlikely given the cost and risk involved. What makes this story important is that it highlights the larger issue of IP ownership in the gaming industry. Larian made one of the best RPGs ever created, but they do not control its destiny. They cannot decide its future platforms. They cannot decide its sequels, and they can't even decide if it lives on through expansions without corporate approval. That's why they are walking away, not because they failed, but because they succeeded and realized that creative freedom matters more than being chained to an IP they don't own. Baldur's Gate 3 will stand as their masterpiece, but their next project will be their legacy fully controlled by them, shaped by their vision, and free from licensing complications. The Switch 2 missing out on Baldur's Gate 3 isn't a hardware failure, it's a business failure, a breakdown of partnership, and a reminder that in gaming, who owns the IP often matters just as much as who makes the game. If you enjoyed the breakdown and found it insightful, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel more than you know. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. because I've got a lot more gaming discussions, deep dives, and industry stories coming your way. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon, where I post exclusive content you won't find on this channel, including the latest Patreon exclusive when I take a look at games that were one hit wonders that never got a sequel, even though they absolutely deserved one. And trust me, some of these picks will surprise you. Your support there helps keep the channel going and let me make even more in depth content for all of you. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and as always, game on.